C1. You are listening at FameTV.info. Lin Luo was bored out of his mind. He yawned and glanced at the sign outside the door. What the hell? Someone had dragged her into the renal surgery department. Luckily, she was smart enough to avoid large-scale patients and request to be transferred to the less crowded medical examination department, urology. Very good. It was a rare day of rest, but Lin Luo, who hadn't had a good night's sleep, was in a violent mood. The door was pushed open and a man wearing a mask and earphones came in. Lin Luo glanced at him in annoyance. Just when she wanted to take advantage of the fact that no one was taking a nap, this guy appeared out of the blue. Sit down. The man's long and narrow eyes sized up Lin Luo. A young and pretty female doctor with long black hair was examining him in the urology department. No matter how he looked at it, it looked a little out of place. However, due to his respect for her white coat, the man still handed the medical record over. Chen Yang. Lin Luo brought him in and impatiently said, "Lie down." Chen Yang frowned slightly and asked with a tone of disbelief, "You're talking to me? Is there anyone else here besides you? Hurry up, don't waste my time." Lin Luo's mind was filled with thoughts of quickly sending the people in front of him away and then taking a nap. Checking a man wasn't a problem for a qualified doctor. Chen Yang frowned and half lay down, looking at Lin Luo with a puzzled expression. "And then? Take off your pants. Show me the place you want to check." Chen Yang's body trembled. He looked at Lin Luo in disbelief, his eyes wide open as if he could see her clearly. "What did you say? How do we check if we don't take it off?" A grown man and a woman talk so much nonsense. Lin Luo waved his hand and was about to attack impatiently, scaring Chen Yang away. Chen Yang's eyebrows creased. It was unknown whether he was scared or angry by Lin Luo. Before he came, he had clearly called to say that he was just here for an interlude today. He had symbolically checked the stats, but he never said that he would check. Below, Lin Luo also saw that he didn't want to take off his pants. Due to her professionalism as a doctor, she forced herself to reveal an indifferent smile. "Mr. Chen, I know you may have some hidden troubles, but as for being sick, how can I treat you if you don't take off your pants?" Satisfied with her wolf-like tone, she continued, "You must overcome your mental problems and trust our doctor." Looking at her smile, Chen Yang didn't know whether to laugh or to cry. He stood up and realized that Lin Luo was actually shorter than her by a head. Chen Yang frowned. "I've called before, you should have forgotten. I didn't call myself. Someone helped me talk." What did he say? He had already mentioned the cause of his illness, so why would he come here to take a look? It seemed like this guy had quite the problem. What a pity that he had such a handsome face. Lin Luo silently cursed in his heart, but he shook his head. "I've never received one." Chen Yang called the call log, took a step forward and showed it to her. Chen Yang was a head taller than her, and he was still sizing up her expression when they got close. It did not seem to be a fake. From his point of view, not only could he see her expression, he could also see the snowy white plumpness on her chest. Lin Luo didn't wear much inside when he changed out here. He borrowed the outer coat temporarily, so it would be very easy for him to be naked if it didn't fit him. A female doctor, staying in the urology department, coincidentally met him, and had to make Chen Yang suspect that this was a premeditated drama. He had seen a lot of these kinds of scenes. Sensing Chen Yang's unbridled gaze, Lin Luo glared at him. "What are you looking at? Lie down." Chen Yang closed his eyes and laid down. When he opened them again, his eyes were filled with ridicule. Whether it was an act or not, he would know after acting. "Dr. Chen, would you mind if a lone man and a lone woman were examined?" Lin Luo didn't feel the ridicule in his tone and thought that he was still conflicted. He impatiently said, "Mr. Chen, treating the illness is a serious matter. We are talking about science now, please don't think too much about social prejudice. Also, my surname is Lin and my work card is not mine. Don't call me by my real name." Chen Yang kept looking at her face and finally confirmed that what she said was true. She was indeed not lying to him. This should be a misunderstanding. The secretary had contacted Dr. Chin to inform him that there was some urgent matter he had to attend to and that Dr. Lin was here at the top of the shift, thus he did not know of his appointment. After figuring out the sequence of events, his pretty eyebrows relaxed, as he felt that Lin Luo was rather interesting. "You're very interesting." Chen Yang gave Lin Luo a friendly smile and got up to leave. Lin Luo saw him stand up and thought he was resisting the examination. He couldn't get over it, so he stood up from his seat in anger. Chen Yang was tall and big, his movement was more hurried when he stood up and bumped into Lin Luo. Lin Luo didn't expect him to be so strong. His center of gravity couldn't hold on and he fell to the ground. If the fall was real, it would probably be a fierce one. Chen Yang subconsciously embraced her, but she was in too much of a hurry. The moment Chen Yang stood up, he lost his balance and was pulled down by her. At that moment, he turned around and directly fell towards the bed. Soft. This was Chen Yang's first reaction, that he had hit the ground first with his face, but he didn't know what it was. It was soft, but it didn't hurt at all. He raised his head and discovered that he was pressing down on Lin Luo in an extremely ambiguous manner. His head was originally leaning against Lin Luo's chest, and with just a casual sweep of his hand, he could see that snow-white color. A faint fragrance came from the tip of his nose, making him a little excited. Lin Luo's face was blood-red, but it was also her impulsive look. She blushed and said, "I was careless, accidentally." Chen Yang looked down at her condescendingly, a trace of a smile appearing on his expressionless face. "You. Let me go first." Lin Luo could feel the strong male hormone aura and was a little confused, but at the same time her mind told her to immediately leave this ambiguous position. She pretended to be calm as she spoke, but she realized that Chen Yang had no intention of letting her go. Chen Yang sniffed the fragrance coming from the tip of his nose. The action looked perverted, but when placed on his face, it made him look like a gentleman. It was just like the fragrance of wine. After that, his head gradually approached, and in Lin Luo's eyes, it grew larger and larger. "Pa." A crisp slap rang out. Lin Luo felt that his hand was hurting. She was so anxious that she didn't know how to react. Instinctively, she slapped him. As expected, Chen Yang let her go, and she immediately retreated to the wall. Seeing Chen Yang walk towards her again, she started to panic out of instinct, afraid that he would take revenge on her. Chen Yang used one hand to support himself against the wall, forming a circle around the corner with Lin Luo in the middle, looking at her with unfriendly eyes. His other hand slowly loosened its grip on the side of his face, revealing a large handprint. "You, what are you doing? This is a hospital, don't act recklessly." Just when Lin Luo thought Chen Yang would take the next step and even slap himself, he did not expect Chen Yang to sit back down. He sat quietly in the hospital bed and looked at her with cold eyes that made her feel cold. "Alright, cut the crap. Help me check." Lin Luo breathed a sigh of relief, but he was still very nervous. "Take off your pants first." Pants in half. After all, he couldn't possibly win against her. "If you can't run away, you can still run away." Chen Yang continued to look at her coldly, with no intention to make a move. He took off his headphones, spread his legs, and pointed to the handprint on his face. With a teasing tone, he said, "I'm injured, so I can't move. Dr. Lin, please do me a favor." Lin Luo's face instantly turned blood-red. It was obviously a very normal thing in medicine, and she had seen countless cases like this before. But facing Chen Yang's handsome face and his hints, her face became unbearably red. Just when Chen Yang thought the joke was done and was about to leave, Lin Luo gritted his teeth and walked over, really taking off his pants for him. Chen Yang was dumbfounded for a moment. He had actually forgotten to resist. Lin Luo's face was flushed red. He used the apparatus to make a formal check, but his trembling hands and the occasional movement towards Chen Yang betrayed her. Gentle face, nervous movements, cold little hands. Although he was wearing gloves and had an instrument with him, the visual stimulation still made Chen Yang react. Chen Yang's body shuddered, and subconsciously wanted to push Lin Luo's hand away to block it. Lin Luo didn't understand and slapped his hand. He raised his head and said seriously, "I'm inspecting, please don't mess around at this time. If there's anything, please check it first. Dr. Lin, keep checking. I'm worried about your safety." Chen Yang said through gritted teeth, his crimson eyes burning with suppressed lust. Listen to the full novel at FameTV.info, direct link in the description.